My name is Jacqui Verduyn and I run an architecture practice located on the Isle of Man. I graduated with a master's degree in architecture 2006 from the University of Pretoria in South Africa. After that, I worked for 7 years as an architect in South Africa before relocating to the Isle of Man. I now run my own practice, specialising in projects ranging from bespoke residential through to large-scale commercial developments. As a child, I enjoyed the sciences as well as art, and I wanted to find a career that would allow me to enjoy both. When at a university open day I walked into an architecture department, I knew I found the career for me. The various schools of architecture specialise in different fields. Some specialise in arts, others in the sciences, some might be more focused on sustainable development, others in historic buildings. In my case, I was interested in the sciences, so I found a university that specialised in that. My advice would be, if you are interested in architecture, to visit a few schools to find one that suits you and your interests. What does an architect do? So architects create designs in order to construct buildings. Therefore, it's very important for us to realise that our ideas become reality. So they also have to be practical, functional, and beautiful. So how does the process work of creating a design? So it starts off with a client, and the client will explain to you the needs that they have for this new building or for changing the building they already have. And then the creative process starts. It initially starts with an idea. The next step would be to put that idea onto paper in a sketch format. Thereafter, we start developing it, perhaps build a model or put it onto computer software in order to communicate that model in 3 dimensions to the rest of the team. Once we know what it would look like, we need to start thinking about how it will work. What building materials will we be using? How high is it? How many staircases do we need? All this gets communicated in a technical drawing pack. So all these drawings and models that we create, they are communication tools, because it's very important to realise that architects don't work on their own, they work in a big team, and we all need to be able to communicate our intentions for the building together. So typically the team that would be working on a project would be the client, the architects, engineers, a quantity surveyor that works out the costs of the building, project managers, and of course the contractor who will be building it. Usually there's a whole range of other specialists depending on the type of building that you're building. All of these people need to be able to communicate really clearly what their design intent is and incorporate it together into the building. Once everyone knows what they want to design and how they want to build it, then the construction process starts. You move on to site, and to me that is one of the most exciting parts of the process, where you get to go to site. You put on your hard hat and your steel cap shoes, and you walk around and you see this idea that started in your head turn into reality. And in the end, once the building is completed, you have a building that people can use, and if we've done our jobs right, a building that improves the way that people live or work. So what do architects need to know in order to create these designs for construction projects? I would split it into 2 categories. Firstly, we need to know how buildings are put together. What type of materials are used? How do they withstand the forces of nature, such as wind or gravity? And on the other side, we need to know how people live and work in buildings. We need to be able to study that and understand that in order to improve it through our designs. What skills do architects need to have in order to do this job? So firstly, you need to have some knowledge of maths and science. You need to be able to calculate the forces on a building, and of course you need to be able to calculate how much all of this will cost. You need to understand that a building sits within nature. We need to consider wind loads, or different types of soil, and all this falls under the sciences. The other thing that's really important is good observation skills. As we said, you need to be able to watch how people live and work in order to create a building that would improve that. The next step is good communication skills. You need to be able to communicate your thoughts and your ideas to the rest of the team in order for it to become a reality. You also need to be a very methodical and analytical thinker. There's a lot of information, and a lot of options that you need to consider throughout the process. So in summary, architecture is all the STEM elements, science, technology, engineering and maths, but also it's creativity, it's art. You need to be able to balance the two in order to create a building that is both beautiful and functional. So I did my equivalent to GCSEs and A-levels in South Africa, and the system is slightly different, but we were able to choose subjects, and in my case I chose languages, I chose science and maths, and I chose art and biology. These really helped me in the career of architecture, and I've been able to draw on all of them throughout my career. Architecture is so varied, and the various universities specialize in different things. So whatever the subjects are that you choose to do, there's most likely a school that would work for you. So on a day-to-day basis, I would use AutoCAD to create the drawings. I use Photoshop a lot to create presentations, and also SketchUp to create 3D models. I use Excel a lot because it's very important to work out the costs of buildings and keep spreadsheets up to date. A large part of my time is spent reviewing contracts. One of the roles that an architect undertakes is to administer the contract between the client and the builder. I think if I knew that taking time out to travel, see the world, see how other cultures create architecture, if I realized what impact that had on my life, I would have done a whole lot more of that before taking my career seriously.